Hello and welcome to our listeners out there in cyber world. We appreciate you joining us here on the Transform You Live show with your host, Paul Greaves. As you know, the Transform You Live show is the only show where you can make real life business transformation, harnessing the power of optimism, hope, and faith, as well as hearing from amazing people such as our star guest today, Mayim Vega. Now, before Mayim introduces herself, I'd like to give you a little bit of information about Mayim. So, would you like to become the healer of your home and your community and create a profitable online health coaching business? Are you interested in becoming a health coach, a naturopath, a herbalist, or a nutritionist?
Hey, can you stop and allow me to be very frank with you guys very quickly about Arukah.com? You might be wondering, what the heck is that? Maybe you wanted to be a healer of your community, or maybe even within your own family for your loved ones. That was me once upon a time. Maybe you want to even make an online profitable business out of it. Well, this is your opportunity. I got a chance to talk personally with the founder of Arukah. And if you are interested in becoming a health coach, a naturopath, herbalist, or nutritionist, you will get the right program for studying holistic healing right here with Arukah.com. Go check it out. Wonderful testimonials that I got a chance to preview. I got a chance to learn the ins and outs, the backstory as to why this got started. One person from the founder of Cobb and Bell says about Maya, who is the founder of Arukah, says that she believes in the intelligence of the body as well as its capacity for self-healing. That's something we need right now in today's time with all that's going on. We know that pharmaceutical drugs are very harmful for the body. Doctors and dentists sometimes, they mean real good, but we need people who are able to heal themselves and others. So that might be you. And if that's you, go visit Arukah.com. And when you get over there, tell them that I sent you, Marcus Hart.
Mayim, welcome to the Transform You Live show. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. And, I'm so glad, to have you here with us today. And all of our listeners out there are going to thoroughly enjoy this show. So before we get into the nitty gritty, into the questions, I just have one testimonial which I found on your website. And I think it's just fantastic to give our listeners out there an idea of where you're coming from. So this testimonial is from Dr. Jilsa Zarilla, a medical doctor. And she said, there are so many positive things I could say about Mayim Vega, but today I'm going to focus on two that are very important to me. First is her willingness to always serve others. And second is her ability and openness to answering questions. She possesses extensive knowledge of health issues. My family and I never hesitate to contact her immediately whenever we have any questions about alternatives to conventional treatments that I already know of from my training in the management of diseases. I'd recommend her 100% any day. And ma'am, that's a beautiful testimonial to have from a doctor. So before we get into the questions, what made Dr. Jilsa Zarilla, give this fantastic testimonial for you?
It's funny. She actually just told me last week that I have an ongoing relationship with her. And she was just telling me last week that before I started helping her, before I started, coaching her, that she used to take allergy medications almost every single week, several times a week. And, she's just allergic to different things, nuts and, maybe pollen, just different things. And she would just frequently have to take allergy medication. But then when I started showing her some things, she said she doesn't have to take them anymore. She just does these natural things, that don't have side effects, and that, it's things that her body needs. And so that was a great testimonial. And like I said, she's a medical doctor, and she has family, that contacts her a lot and just asks for her advice on different things. And she's been sharing with them things that she learned from me. And so now sometimes they say, so what does Mayim say about this? Go ask her for me. So they're going to her to ask about, what I would do. So it's very funny.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I love your answer there, especially when you said about, kind of natural kind of, things to take for your body rather than going to a doctor and, going through the whole pharmaceutical kind of avenue. So perfect. So lovely. So, sorry, mate. Go on.
I was just going to say, yeah. And she herself is a medical doctor. So she knows what, modern medicine has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that, a lot of times people, it's funny because it's, for me, it seems like sometimes medical doctors who already know medicine, fully know medicine, what much more than a normal person, a lot of times because they already know the limitations of modern medicine, sometimes they are more willing to learn from me sometimes than people who don't. And a lot of people, they think that only a medical doctor can give you true health and healing. That's how we're trained to think, right? You have to go to doctor for these things. But the problem with that mindset is that medical doctors are not taught about nutrition very much, if hardly anything at all. I mean, I have many friends who are doctors. One of them told me that they took one class on nutrition. So, how are you going to provide nutritional healing, which that's, a real thing, nutritional healing? How are you going to provide that if you've only taken one class? That's like reading maybe one book, And also, even if they do take that one class in medical school, for example, they're not going to teach doctors how to heal with nutrition, because that's not the model that makes hospitals and pharmaceutical companies money.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the major funders of the colleges, of the medical colleges. So, from what I understand, one doctor told me that they only started teaching more nutrition and alternative things in medical schools because they know that there's a demand for it, and the medical doctors have to speak somewhat knowledgeable about it, but they're still not really trained to use it to bring healing. And there are a lot of not a lot, but there are some holistic medical doctors out there, but they get their training themselves or outside of medical school. They, some of them will go into a health coaching program, similar to ours at Arukah.com or elsewhere, because they don't receive that holistic health and healing education from medical school.
Well,
but you don't. Sorry, no, go ahead. I was just going to say, but you don't have to be a medical doctor to be a health coach. Most health coaches are not medical doctors, actually. A health coach can come from a medical background. Sometimes they're nurses or in some other medical field, but sometimes they're not. I'm in a group and there's a diabetes health coach, and she used to be a government worker, and she used to read contracts for the government. And there's another health coach that I know in a different group that she is a binge eating coach. So she helps people overcome binge eating. It can be a real problem for people. And she got into that because that's what she was herself. She was a binge eater herself. And now she can very powerfully guide others to help them out of that problem,
Wow, this is fantastic. And for our listeners out there, I'm sure that's going to, whet their appetite to kind of learn more about yourself and what your programs can offer. So before we get into why these doctors are coming to you for all of this advice, can you take us back, Mayim, and talk to us about your kind of transformational journey? What made you get into this kind of profession?
I got into it because the modern medical system just basically kept failing me and my family. For example, my son, they said that he had bleeding issues, right? Because when he was circumcised, he wouldn't stop bleeding. Well, what I later found out is they circumcised him on the first day of his birth, when the Bible, it says to circumcise your son on the 8th day of birth, after birth. And then, later I realized from my studies that the 8th day is actually the day when the baby has the most blood clotting factors. And so they're better prepared for a circumcision if you wait for that day. But they never told me that. And they're just like, hey, we're doing some routine circumcisions right now. Do you want to get your son circumcised? And we did want to get our son circumcised. We weren't necessarily thinking of doing it on that day. But anyway, so they circumcised him, and then he didn't bleed normally. He wouldn't stop bleeding like normal. So they took him to the ICU. And then they told me that he had some kind of deficiency, or some kind of problem, some kind of genetic problem. And they're like, but we don't know what it is. And we just want to keep bringing him in for testing. Well, he doesn't have any problems now. He doesn't have any bleeding problems. They misdiagnosed him, and they didn't wait for the right day. And that's just one of many problems. And then for me, I started getting migraines, and they were very, very painful, and they just got worse and worse and worse. And before I started getting those migraines, I had never even had a headache in my whole entire life before that. And all of a sudden I was getting these terrible migraines, and I was taking Tylenol at first, but at some point they just stopped working. And it was in the middle of the night. We had 2 babies at that time. And I told my husband, I said, I can't sleep. I think I'm going to die. It was so bad. It was worse than childbirth, giving birth to 2 children naturally, no drugs or anything. And it was worse. It was worse than that. It was the worst pain that I'd had ever felt. So he rushed me to the emergency room, and we waited for hours, and they took tests and, blood tests and, whatever kind of saliva tests. They measured me and, asked me a bunch of questions. And then we waited for more hours. And then they finally called me up to talk to the doctor. And then she spent about 10 minutes explaining to me that they really, didn't know what was wrong with me. And, they could give me a CT scan, but insurance wouldn't cover it. But we didn't have insurance anyways. So I was like, well, how much does it cost? And she said $2,000. And we ended up paying $4,000 that night for everything, for the hospital stay. And I know that I guess those things just add up. And so I took the CT scan because they wanted to rule out the possibility of a tumor. And then after the CT scan, we waited some more, and she called me up for maybe 5 more minutes. So I saw her for about 15 minutes total, which is, if you see your doctor for 15 minutes nowadays, that's pretty good. Sometimes it's less. It's really bad. But when they finally called me up, she said to me again, well, good news, you don't have a tumor, but again, there's nothing we can do for you. We don't see anything wrong with you. You're just having a bad headache. And here's some strong painkillers. I was so upset, because medical doctors spend $150,000 to $400,000 on medical school. And she couldn't tell me things that I later learned and that we teach at Arukah.com. Things like, what kind of stress are you putting yourself under? What kind of diet are you eating? What kind of maybe vitamins and minerals are you lacking in your nutrition? And how about, why don't you try this very inexpensive, herb that's, $4 instead of $4,000, I mean, there's so many things that can help with migraines, that can help. And also there's a way to get rid of them completely, which I later found. I found all the answers that I needed, but not after $4,000 in the hospital. And I don't know how much they spent on that CT scan to have that machine in their hospital. How much did that cost? How much did the education of all those nurses and doctors in that hospital cost? And they couldn't help me. But yet I found the answers myself. When I started started studying naturopathic herbalism, and that's what we teach at our school. So that's how I got into it, and that's why I have a passion for this, because it's what helped my family, it's what has helped me, and it's what has helped so many other people, including medical doctors who, we have their testimonials on our website.
Yeah, I think I can really hear that passion coming through, and I can really notice there that, as someone who, just had a baby boy, you go to a doctor, because you think they know everything, and for the doctor to turn around and give you, information which you later find out is not correct. And then obviously when you went with your migraines, the things there, kind of like the doctors are supposed to be, the people who know it all, and of course you got the cost there as well. So yeah, they were kind of running through that story there, and I'm sure we get talking about the cost of drugs, and the real cost of, as you were talking about, herbs and things like this. So yeah, really interesting. So moving on then to Arukah.com. So can you tell our listeners out there a little bit about Arukah.com?
Yes, I'd love to. So first of all, I'd like to say that, Thomas Edison, he was the inventor of the light bulb, and he was a visionary. And he has a famous quote that a lot of holistic healers, use. He said this, he said, "The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease." So we are not yet at this future that he envisioned. That's not what doctors do. Now, the root of the word doctor, it actually comes from a word that means teacher. So a true doctor is supposed to be such a master of his or her field that he is now the best teacher that you can find in that field. So for example, if you're a doctor of history, that, a PhD in history, that means you're a master of history. And so you can teach at the highest levels. But unfortunately, medical doctors, they do not live up to that name. And so we are not at our future that we're supposed to be as a people, as humanity, as mankind. We are not there, but it is our destiny. It is our destiny to understand how to work with nature and how to work with the power of our own bodies in order to heal ourselves and also prevent disease in the first place. This is really our destiny. And the reason why we're not there right now is, again, because of, it's basically because of the big corporations, big pharmaceutical companies that have their hold on the medical system, their monopoly on the medical system. And they've outlawed and they do not fund the research for certain natural holistic methods. And the research that is out there, there's a lot of research out there for various vitamins and herbs and healing protocols like fasting and whatnot. There's a lot of research out there, but it's never publicized, because who's going to fund that? Who will benefit from us knowing that that fruits and vegetables can heal us? Not the pharmaceutical corporations. It's the farmers that will benefit from that, right? The organic farmers. But organic farmers are usually not rich. They don't have the kind of money to promote their that kind of research. So it's going to depend on people to really just open their eyes and see that the answers are not found in mainstream media. They're not found in mainstream medicine, So at Arukah.com, we teach, there's 3 main fields of study. And this is really what sets us apart from other holistic schools, whether it be other health coaching schools or other herbalist schools, or other holistic, schools, is these 3 fields that we teach and that we've combined into one program to train and raise up healers that will help us, to usher in our future, which I believe is our destiny. So we have naturopathic herbalism, and then we have health coaching, and then we have online business development and marketing. So I just want to talk about those different fields and
Yeah, please, yeah.
exactly what they are and why they're important and why they set us apart. So naturopathic herbalism is comprised of two words, right? Naturopathy and herbalism. So herbalism is basically the ancient healing art, right? So before there were such things as medical doctors and drugs and hospitals, there were herbalists, and they actually they oftentimes went to the people's homes to see how they lived and treated them on their own beds. And there was the traveling physician basically, and they would use things in nature. They would, and a lot of times people think that herbalism is just like, oh, what tea should I drink? But herbalism also has to do with your diet. What things you eat on a regular everyday basis. It has to do with teas and tinctures and also wraps and also fasting. There's a lot of things that fall under herbalism.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have naturopathy, and naturopathy is really like the broad umbrella, the broad spectrum of holistic health and healing and everything that falls under there. So we'll have homeopathy and aromatherapy, which is essential oils, and then cleansing and detoxification, and hydrotherapy and massage, biofeedback. These are all tools, holistic healing tools that fall under naturopathy. So herbalism is the ancient healing art, but everything else, which is more modern, I would call that or consider that being under naturopathy. So there are a lot of herbalist schools out there, but a lot of times, an herbalist school, they will only focus on herbalism, and they won't go into some of the modern research. They'll study the ancient healing art of herbalism, but they won't study the more modern, holistic methods. A lot of them are, for example, EMF reduction. And EMF is a very prominent toxin in our world today. And herbalists, back a few hundred years ago, they didn't have that problem. They didn't have to deal with EMF radiation because they didn't have computers and cell phones and stuff like that back in several hundred years ago. We have to deal with the problems that we are facing today as well. So we have to combine modern science and modern research with the ancient healing arts. And then our second field of study is health coaching, and health coaching is basically the delivery model for the health and healing. So since we are not licensed medical doctors, health coaches, we don't prescribe or treat or diagnose diseases, but what we do is we educate and we inspire and we support people on their own healing journey. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference between a health coach versus the standard medical model. In the standard medical model, the doctor is the star. The doctor is the one that wields the power, right? Yep. Well, the health coach, it's like an athletic coach. The athlete is the star, right? The athlete is the one that has the true healing power. And that's what we recognize as health coaches, is that, there's a very powerful quote from Hippocrates, and he's known as the father of medicine, right? Even modern medicine today. Mm-hmm. And he said, the greatest medicine of all is teaching people how not to need it. Everyone has a doctor in him or her, and we just have to help it in its work. So that's really the health coaching model, is we help people bring out the doctor within him or her so that he can take, control of his or her health, like I did for myself and my family. And then the last field is the online business and marketing. Yeah. And the reason why that's so important is because I think it's the best and most effective model, because you can't, especially with the pandemic and everyone working from home and everyone afraid to go out, and people not trusting hospitals because they don't want to get sick, or infected from whatever's going on in the hospitals. And, it's such a powerful tool that we have today. And also, the modern medical system, it's very much set up for a doctor or nurse straight out of medical school to easily get a job. But that's not the case with holistic healers. We have to pave our own path because, our future is not here yet. We have to create that future for us. And so the online business model is really the most powerful model that there is to deliver this health and healing through knowledge, and support. So I think that's what makes our school unique.
Definitely, yeah, and I can hear that kind of, you mentioned that word inspiration, a few times through there, and I can really tell that how inspirational your teachings would be to prospective students who want to take on the courses, and of course, there's lots of other schools out there. So what, as you mentioned there, what makes Arukah.com unique?
Yeah, well, I think the combination of those three fields together, that is partly what makes our school unique. Because, for example, other health coaching schools, they don't go into naturopathic herbalism. They just study a bunch of diet theories, just very basic things, things that we would cover maybe just in the first 2 modules. They don't really study. They don't go deeper. They don't go into the power of herbalism and other naturopathic healing methods. They don't cover that. You can piece together a really good program from several different schools, but I don't know of any one school that teaches both the depth and the breadth of the holistic healing arts as we do. But the second thing that no other school, I think, teaches is that we teach from the top holistic healers of our day, people who have been banned on social media, people who have been blocked on Google, people who have been forced to move their practices and their clinics outside of the United States, or else they would be fined or jailed. So they'd have to move their clinic, like the Gershon therapy method. Dr. Gershon, they have their clinics in South America, I believe Mexico. Some of them have been, like I said, put in jail. Some of them have been suicided, quote unquote. Our students will learn from the movers and shakers of the holistic health and healing movement. We're not messing around. We're not here to just give a certificate and make money. We're here to basically create warriors that will pave the way for our future. It's a very serious mission.
I love that. And so with that word holistic, you do hear it everywhere, and you hear about education, about medical, the medical field. So can you really tell the listeners out there, what does that word holistic mean when it comes to medicine and things like this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I like that. Holistic means that we deal with the entire person, and not even just the entire person, not physically, not just the physical person, but the mental person, and even the person's environment, even the person's relationships, and their mindset. So, for example, if someone wants to heal themselves of cancer, there are all these organizations that talk about, give us money so we can find the cure for cancer. And that's really just baloney. There are many cures for cancer. The question is, what will work for you? What do you need? And so cancer, there are many factors. There's, what are you eating? That's a big one. What kind of diet do you have? What kind of environment do you have? What is your mindset? Are you stuck in unforgiveness? Are you stuck in a toxic relationship that is keeping you in a constant state of maybe fear or anxiety? All of these contribute to cancer. Do you have past trauma that you've never dealt with? So even if you switch to a good diet, it might not be enough if you're not dealing with these other factors. So a holistic approach will look at absolutely every part of your life that can affect it. Mind, body, spirit, even financial, relationships, as I said, mindset.
So would you say it's kind of like that 21st century kind of traveling doctor who will come into your house and take a look at everything that's going on within you, rather than just, having a 5 minute kind of, meeting with an appointment with a doctor who's just looking at, maybe your diet?
Yeah, yes, definitely. And I think also that's part of the coaching model is that one of the modules in our program is about health and life coaching. Because if you're in a very stressful relationship or work situation, that also needs to be addressed. If you have cancer, that stress can cause you cancer. And so as a life coach, you have to address those kinds of issues too. And that's, also part of the training that the healers in our program receive.
Oh, fantastic. So going back to Arukah.com, so how did you get started there? Tell us that journey there.
Well, at first, I was just helping people on a one-on-one basis. I would have a relationship with people on a one-on-one basis, and I would help them. And people started asking me to actually teach them so that they could also, become herbalists, naturopathic herbalists. And at first I was like, no, I'm not really interested in that. But then, with the whole pandemic that happened, I just saw that there was such a lack of knowledge. And then the medical doctors whose testimonies are on my website, they were also saying, you need to teach, you need to start teaching. And so I felt like, okay, well, maybe this is my calling, maybe this is God telling me to shift my focus and not just helping people one-on-one, but in order to have a more massive impact to, to share this healing knowledge, because the Bible says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. And I, as one person, can only help so many people. But, if I help, transfer the knowledge that I believe he has led me to, then that will create a greater impact. And I think the world is very much ready for this,
I love that. And so how long ago did you start this then, and kind of tell us your journey from where your typical 9 to 5 worker, and then decide to go up on your own, or was it kind of a gradual thing? Lots of our listeners out there are kind of entrepreneurs in their own right, and it's always good to hear from other people who have made a success, in their own lives.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, yeah, I used to be a computer scientist slash engineer at the NASA Ames Research Center. And then after I had my first child, I was already very holistic minded. And part of being holistic is like wanting to do everything naturally, like as God intended. And I don't believe that God intended for me to have a child and then 3 to 6 months later put him in a daycare for some people that I don't really know to raise them. That's not a holistic view. That's not a natural thing to do. And so I was like, humans are meant to raise their own children just like any other mammal, So I decided to quit my career, and my husband was pretty upset. He wasn't very supportive. He wasn't very supportive of that because well, I made good money at NASA, so, but I was like, I have to do this, and I'm going to make it work because this is the right thing to do. So I did that, and the holistic healing part came later. I started an online business in digital marketing at first, and then I went through my studies, and then I started Arukah.com in 2009, and that's when I started just helping people, on a one-on-one basis. And then, around 2020 is when we shifted to the certification program, the training program.
Oh, wow. So there's a good 12, 13 years behind you, helping people and, getting this program to where it is now, which is fantastic. So moving on to, I'm sure there's listeners out there now who are, typing in Arukah.com. So what type of people would do your course? Tell us the kind of requirements to get onto the course, and all that good information there.
Well, I think the only requirements would be that one is open to the holistic and natural healing methods, and the second one would be that they are committed to helping people, It's really designed for the beginner, someone who was back in my situation not too long ago, someone who just knew that there was something more than the modern medical system, that was sick and tired of not being able to get any answers from these trained, medical doctors. Anyone who is interested in that field, even if they don't want to make a business out of it, if you just want to, for example, avoid having to ever go to a doctor or dentist ever again, it's a good place to learn just for that alone. That takes up the bulk of our program, is the learning of the naturopathic herbalism. But we also attract people who are already health coaches that have gone to another school, but they know that they haven't studied deep enough, and they're not confident enough in health and healing to start their own business. And we even attract people who are already in the medical profession, like nurses and doctors. So it's for anyone. It's an online program, but you have to. There's books, both online books, also physical books, and also audio, and also videos that our students consume.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to be able to receive those books. Most of the books are from Amazon. So if they don't have access to Amazon, I know there's people sometimes that are in, foreign countries, and I don't, if they can't get access to books from Amazon, I don't know if they can successfully finish the program. So yeah, they should be able to receive Amazon books.
I think Amazon's pretty much around the world now, so which is a good thing. So if we've got some of our listeners out there now who are thinking about looking at the course, and even trying to get onto the course, what would you say to them right now?
Well, I would say that you should definitely do it. Why not? You will improve your own health. You will improve the health of your loved ones, whoever they may be, your children, the elderly in your life, maybe it's parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. Mm-hmm. And you will have a very profitable skill. I mean, being able to help people be healthy and heal themselves, that is a very profitable skill. And especially, with the whole pandemic and a lot of people losing their jobs and stuff, those are all really very powerful skills to have. And this information that we teach at our school, I believe that people should be learning this in like high school or at least college. Like everyone should know how to be healthy and heal themselves. I believe in this day and age, everyone should know how to set up an online business. I mean, it's more important than a lot of things that they teach our children at school. Let's just say that.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with those ones. And just a quick question. I'm sure you get these all the time, but what kind of top tips do you have for people out there when it comes to their own health, or diet, mental health, stresses around them? What kind of quick fixes could you give our audience right now?
Quick fixes. I think a really good one is to use our search engine that we developed, because Google will not show you information from the best healers. They will censor that. Okay. We have a search engine. It's at search.arukah.com. So search, SEARCH. Arukah is ARUKAH.com. And that only searches websites that I trust. And that doesn't mean you don't have to filter through the information. You still have to, filter through. You always have to think for yourself, but Dr. Google is not reliable. So I think it's a very powerful tool. So search.arukah.com. I really want to get that out there. And another thing is that they have to have faith, purpose, and determination in order to heal themselves or successfully start a business. No matter what you have to do, you have to have faith, purpose, and determination. Faith, you have to believe. That's your faith will keep you through. If other people have healed from cancer or eczema or whatever the problem is, you can too. Why not? And then purpose, you have to understand why you're doing it, and always keep that before you. For me, my purpose was always my family, being able to take care of my family the best way I could. And that really, that has, I believe, it was one of the greatest keys to my success. And then, and thirdly is diligence or determination. Never give up. Whether it's building a business or trying to heal yourself, just because you try one herb or one vitamin and it didn't work for you, that doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It may mean that you have to do more, greater dose. It may mean you need to put the next piece of the puzzle in place, and that was just one piece of the puzzle. So don't give up, continue and be diligent. And you can accomplish almost anything with those three things in mind, I believe. Faith, purpose, and determination or diligence. Never giving up.
That's such a great answer. And yeah, going back to your first point there about the search engines and things like this, it's so interesting to kind of look back on the pandemic now and see how some people have taken charge of their own kind of research, looking into what can help them, what can't help them, and some people kind of blindly just following the rest of the people and doing what everyone else is. So how's that kind of affected your kind of role and the way you see health going at the moment?
I think a lot of people are waking up. And a lot of doctors, even medical doctors, are standing up and they are seeing like, oh, this is wrong. It's like I feel like this whole pandemic was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I think it has caused just a global awakening. And it's time for us as a people, as a planet, to take our health back, to take our future back, and not let politicians and corporations dictate where we will go. We outnumber them. We don't have to be subject to their will and their plans. We outnumber them.
Yeah, I think that's so important, just to realize that you can take control of your own kind of destiny when it comes to your own body. You don't have to just blindly follow what everyone else is doing just because that's what they're doing. I think it's, as you said, people are waking up and realizing, actually, should I be taking that or doing this, or whatever you're thinking, at least if you're armed with the right kind of information, and as you said, was it search.arukah.com, you can find out lots of information there which hasn't gone through these big corporations.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on as we get towards the end here, obviously you've made a great success in what you're doing with your family life and your your personal life and business life. To you, what makes someone successful?
What makes someone successful?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I would say true success would be measured by joy and peace. How much joy do you have in your life, and how much peace do you have in your mind? And there are a lot of people who maybe they become millionaires or do whatever they want, but do they have joy? Do they have peace? Do they have loving relationships around them? And I think that is what true success is. And money is a means to attain those things, but it is not. It's not the end goal. You obviously need money to eat, to live, to do many things, but money is not the end goal. I think it's joy and peace.
I love that. So that's a great answer. Yeah, joy and peace. Yeah, definitely. Perfect. Excellent. And you've throughout this interview, Mayim, you've dropped in about faith. So is faith a big part of your life and kind of helps you, guide the direction you're going in?
It is, because when I stopped, when I finally let go of the medical system, said, okay, this has no answers for me, I really just prayed a lot for guidance as to where, who I should follow, who I should learn from, who are the healers that will really give me answers. And I believe it was my faith in God and connecting with the right people, and learning about the top healers that that brought me to where I am. And again, I believe that's something that makes us very unique, is that we do have, you're going to, I mean, it's not like this isn't a religious school. I'm not saying it's a religious school, but I'm a very religious person. I'm a very spiritual person. So I will talk about my faith freely in the program. So if that offends anyone, it's probably not the right school for that person. But the material is not necessarily religious, although many of the people that you will be studying from, they do also have faith. And I've seen that as a very common thread of all holistic healers. I don't, at least no one that you will study at arukah.com is atheist, I don't believe. They might be agnostic or Christian or Jewish or something like that, but I don't know that anyone is atheist. I think having faith in a greater power, and that he has designed humankind to live in harmony with his creation, I think that's a big part really of holistic health and healing.
Yeah, so that's really interesting to think of it that way, and the people involved. And thank you for being very candid there about if that's not for you, then maybe the course isn't for you. But yeah, that's perfect. So going back to the course itself on arukah.com, how can we find out more about this? If people are interested, where can they contact you and so on?
Yeah, definitely. Well, yes, our website is arukah.com, and people usually spell that wrong because there's an H at the end. So it's arukah.com. So arukah.com. And, you can schedule a call to learn more about it from someone, and just learn more about the program and the modules and everything like that from that website.
Perfect. Thank you. And so before we get to the end, I'd just like to read one more testimonial here, which I found, which is just another lovely one. So this one is from Whitley Bonner, who's a founder of Cobb and Bale, a natural building and EMF shielding company. So this is what they said. I have been a long-time client of Mayim and her holistic company, Arukah. Mayim is someone who believes in the intelligence of the body, as well as its capacity for self-healing. She is also skilled in a wide variety of herbal remedies, many of which she has shared with me. It is through Mayim that I was introduced to naturopathic perspectives and practices, such as those taught by the late Dr. John Christopher and his School of Natural Healing. Much of what I learned while studying these teachings inspired and empowered me to take greater control of my health and wellness journey. For this alone, I will forever be grateful. Mayim and the entire team at Arukah have always been extremely professional and helpful. She and Arukah are generous with their time and advice, and I know that they really care about me. The guidance and remedies I've received over the past 5 years have equipped me to support my body through any challenge. Because of Mayim, I have a deeper understanding of and appreciation for my body's natural healing processes. I have learned to not live in fear. I have learned to trust my intuition of what my body wants and needs, and I live in greater freedom and awareness of my body's innate wisdom. Wow, that is a fantastic testimonial there. And yeah, those words, you can really tell that, Whitley here is in tune with her body. She knows what's going on, knows exactly, what's good for the body and what's bad. And obviously with the support and help from yourself and your team has really helped change the way they live. So yeah, anything you'd like to add to that testimonial and give our listeners out there kind of a little bit of background there?
Well, it's very interesting. Also, with her, she was in real estate before, and now since becoming holistic and everything, she is kind of combining her real estate development career with her holistic mindset now, and she's creating a company that will help people with EMF shielding, as she said over there. So that's it's an awesome testimony of just where you can go with having a whole this holistic mindset and the possibilities. So she's helping people who want to build something in like a house or an add-on or something, so that they can build it in such a way that will protect them from EMF radiation, which is for many people a big important part of the healing process.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, excellent. I love that. So just, we're getting to the end here, Mayim. So again, you gave us some excellent advice and information about where we can get more kind of information that, as I said, hasn't gone through the big corporations. So thank you for that. Are there any kind of final words of wisdom you'd like to give our audience out there?
No, not really, but I do have, the reason why I really wanted to be on your podcast is because I heard you interviewing this lady. Her name was Batia Shemesh, and she wrote a book called Choose Life. And she was Jewish, and she was also an herbalist. And it was kind of like me, so I was like, oh, I want to be on his podcast.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, Batia is lovely. Yeah, really interesting lady as well.
I have a different approach from her, but it's a lot of similarities also.
Yeah, true. Oh, thank you for that. And Mayim, where can we find you online? Do you have any kind of social media, or is it just through your website?
Yeah, well, YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/Arukah, ARUKAH, I'm there. And I'm also putting I started a podcast. It's fairly new, so I don't have that many things there, but yeah, YouTube and podcast.
Perfect. I found your podcast today and listened to the first 2 episodes whilst walking through London. So it was very interesting about cataracts and about cayenne pepper as well, which really kind of starts to make sense when you think about this. But for our listeners out there, find Mayim's podcast quite easy to do. Just type a name into any podcast where you can find it, and you can download it and listen to it there. Perfect. Okay, well, Mayim, if you could just hold the line whilst I just close out here. So, ladies and gentlemen out there, thank you for tuning in. Please share this with friends, with families, co-workers, or anyone you feel that would benefit from our transformational wisdom and from Mayim and at Arukah.com. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Check us out online. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on IG. You can find us anywhere. So please just hit us up and subscribe to our channels. This has been the Transform You Live show, the only show where you can make real life and business transformation. My name is Paul Greaves. We are done and we are dusted.